Welcome to our discussion on VAT registration in the UAE. It's interesting how the introduction of the 5% VAT in 2018 reshaped business operations here.
Absolutely, there's a lot to unpack there. So, we're talking about a consumption tax on goods and services, right?
Exactly. It's a consumption-based tax applied at every stage of production
Yeah.
until it finally lands on the end consumer. The government introduced it at a steady rate of 5%, which is one of the lowest globally.
Right. And what's interesting is how businesses in the UAE have to comply with these requirements. Could you break down who actually needs to register?
Sure thing. So, basically, if your annual taxable supplies exceed 375,000 dirhams, then registration is mandatory.
Yep.
And then there's voluntary registration for those whose taxable activities fall between 187,500 dirhams and 375,000 dirhams.
So, a business making around 200,000 AED in taxable supplies could choose to register voluntarily to reclaim VAT on their purchases?
Exactly. That's one of the key benefits, reclaiming VAT paid on business expenses. It really helps in reducing the overall tax burden, especially for startups or smaller firms trying to manage costs.
Right. Besides reclaiming VAT, what other advantages do businesses gain from registering?
Well, it's all about legal compliance and credibility. Being VAT registered signals to customers and suppliers that your business meets all the tax regulations. Plus, staying registered helps avoid fines and penalties, like those hefty 10,000 AED fines for late registration or returns.
Got it. Speaking of fines, that sounds a bit severe. Is there any leeway if a business slips up accidentally?
The rules are pretty clear. If you're required to register and don't, you could not only face fines, but also risk your operations being stopped. And once registered, you're expected to keep up with timely VAT returns and payments, or worse penalties can kick in.
That definitely emphasizes the need for timely compliance. Now, could you walk us through the VAT registration process itself?
Certainly. It starts by determining your eligibility. You check if your taxable turnover meets the threshold. Next, you gather all required documents like your trade license, Emirates ID, passport copies, and proof of business address. Once you've got everything, you apply online through the FTA's e-services portal.
Yep. That online process sounds straightforward, but don't you think reliance on digital processing might sometimes delay things, especially if additional documents are requested?
That's a valid point. In some cases, the process might take a couple of weeks, especially if the FTA asks for clarifications or extra documents. Still, overall, it's designed to be user-friendly and efficient.
Absolutely makes sense. And once you're registered, how does the filing of VAT returns work?
This is where it gets really systematic. Depending on the business's turnover, returns must be filed either monthly, quarterly, or annually. For example, if your taxable turnover is high enough, over 150 million AED dirhams, you'd file monthly. Otherwise, it's quarterly or even annual filings for smaller turnovers.
Right, that's pretty structured. It seems like these requirements ensure that businesses remain transparent and maintain good records.
Exactly. Registration also obliges businesses to issue VAT-compliant invoices, separately listing the VAT and keeping records for at least 5 years. That's essential for both internal audits and potential FTA inspections.
Absolutely crucial for consistency. And what about penalties for non-compliance? Do they add to the pressure?
Oh, definitely. Penalties can include fines for late registration, incorrect filing, or underreporting amounts. For instance, a late VAT return submission can incur fines ranging from 1,000 AED to 2,000 AED, not to mention potential monthly fines for outstanding amounts.
That's a hefty price to pay. It really underscores why sticking to the deadlines is so important. Now, how does this system benefit foreign companies looking to operate in the UAE?
Good question. Foreign businesses must register for VAT if they make taxable supplies surpassing 375,000 AED annually, and often they need to appoint a fiscal representative to ensure compliance. This ensures they're operating on the same playing field and can reclaim VAT on their business expenses.
Right, keeps things level. That sounds very comprehensive. But what happens if a business's circumstances change, say, if they fall below the threshold or cease operations?
In that case, businesses have the option to deregister. When your taxable turnover drops below 187,500 AED, you can apply for deregistration through the FTA portal, but you must clear any outstanding VAT returns or payments before this request is processed.
Understood, so it's all very procedural. I also noticed that timely and accurate record keeping seems to be a recurring theme in this process.
Absolutely. Without proper documentation, you not only risk fines, but also jeopardize your credibility with both the government and your business partners. And this meticulous approach to record keeping really helps streamline the audit process if the FTA ever comes knocking.
That's true. Now, on a slightly different note, the whole VAT registration process is free, right? There's no registration fee at all?
Yep, that's one of the benefits. The registration process itself is free of charge, although, of course, businesses will have to pay VAT on their inputs and might incur penalties if they mess up their filings.
Right, so while there's no upfront cost, the operational diligence is key. It appears that VAT registration not only brings legal compliance, but also offers tangible business benefits like input tax recovery and enhanced credibility.
True, and it adds an extra layer of trust with customers and suppliers when your business is fully compliant with UAE tax regulations. This transparency can be a real competitive edge in the market.
Absolutely, trust is everything. One thing I'm curious about, what about the frequency and structure of the VAT returns? How does that influence daily operations?
The frequency is designed to match your business turnover. For high-volume businesses, monthly returns keep every transaction in check. For businesses with lower turnovers, quarterly or annual filings are less burdensome. It's really about aligning the filing cycle with your business cash flow and operations.
That aligns well with the business size. And with all these layers of compliance, I imagine many companies turn to experts for help, right?
Exactly. Many businesses, whether foreign or local, consult VAT specialists or tax advisors to ensure they're following the regulations precisely. Tools and expert support, like those offered by firms such as BizInvest Firm, can really ease the process.
Yeah, that professional guidance is invaluable. Before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts on the transition to VAT in the UAE?
Just that the system, while detailed and rigorous, ultimately fosters a fair, transparent, and efficient business environment. It's like setting up the rules of the game properly so that everyone knows what to expect.
Right, consistency is key. It really seems that smart preparation and compliance can transform what might seem like a bureaucratic process into a strategic business advantage.
Exactly. It's about viewing compliance not as a hurdle, but as a foundation for strong business practices in the UAE.
Absolutely.